the Freshmen. Freshmen, meet the freshmen. They're the newest Tigers on the team.
Couple of real athletes in today's Meet the Freshmen. Derrick Davis Jr. is first up. He's a 6'1", 175-pound safety from Monroeville, Pennsylvania. Tigers going up to the Northeast and pulling the safety in. A four-star prospect. He was the number 4 safety in the country, number 4 player in Pennsylvania, and number 65 nationally. He ran a 22.3 in the 200 meters as a sophomore. He's a really good athlete who's got some room to fill out, but this is part of what may have been the best safety class in the country when you look at Sage Ryan and Derrick Davis. And the thing I found interesting with his recruitment is that Davis committed to LSU November 7th of 2020. That was in the throes of LSU being a national disaster based on coming off a national championship. Goes to show you that the performance on the field doesn't always mean everything off the field and in recruiting, and they were able to pull in Davis. I know that you've checked out his highlights and are impressed with the young man.
Oh, yeah, man. I haven't seen him much out there, like running with the 1s and 2s at camp and at practice, but just watching this kid's highlights, he's a super athletic dude, and he can really make plays on the ball. He's a great tackler in open spaces, what you're going to need in this 4-2-5 defense. The safeties are going to have to be in the box and really, tackling, blowing up those screen passes, blowing up those bubble screens, and that's what he can do. So I don't know if he contributes this year, but I definitely see him being one of those guys contributing to DBU for sure.
Soft landing spot for him and our next Meet the Freshman guest. We'll tell you about that one later. But this point being made, Major Burns right now is right there in the back end with Jay Ward. Those are your top 2 safeties at this point. Todd Harris is a veteran. They trust him. He's going to play. And then I think you've got a safe landing spot here for Derrick Davis, who's not going to be counted on to do a lot. Neither is Matthew Langlois, who is the other safety in the freshman class. Davis has been out there on one-on-ones. I've seen him the last couple of days out there. He's taking his lumps against some unbelievable wide receivers, and that's what you might expect coming down here into the belly of the beast. But he's long, he's rangy, and he's athletic. He's a guy that I think has got a bright future, but it's not going to be this year. I think that Davis is a guy who's down the road. Maybe some special teams, maybe some mop-up duty for him, but the guys above him on the totem pole are significantly above him. So soft landing spot for Derrick Davis. Same thing goes for our second Meet the Freshman. That's Saivion Jones, 6'5", 240 pounds out of St. James. He's an edge rusher. He's a number 6 player in Louisiana by the time he finished. Number 11 edge rusher in the country by the time he finished. Number 163 nationally by the time he finished. This is a guy that kind of blew up because he grew, and you saw the athleticism. It really popped. This high school pedigree just oozes pass rusher. Because you look at the size of 6'5", 240. He played football. He played basketball. I've told you how much I love that. And he was a track and field participant. Listen to these events he ran. Find me anyone who's doing these events. Shot put, discus, okay, that makes sense. Big, strong guy throw. And high jump. That is an athlete, is what you got with Saivion Jones.
Yeah, he's a freaking athlete, and Coach O knows what he's doing. He finds these rangy, big defensive ends from Louisiana, and he just plugs them in the defense and tell them go get the passer, and I think he's going to fit that mold perfectly. This kid is a freak athlete. He stands out when you see him out there on the practice field, and just watching his highlights, man, he pops. And I think the craziest thing that I saw him do is he can bend. And I think normally guys that bend off the edge, like Von Miller, those type of guys, they're normally shorter guys and lighter in weight. But a guy to have his height and weight and be able to bend off the edge and come off that edge, he's definitely going to wreak some havoc. I don't know how much he plays this year, but I can see him definitely coming into the rotation down the road.
No, I think it's Andre Anthony, it's Ali Gay, and it's B.J. Ojolari in that spot right now. So that makes this, again, another soft landing spot for Saivion Jones. I mean, when you look at his offer list and you start comparing things, by the time LSU offered him, like Southeastern was in the mix. And then all of a sudden you grow and fill out and you become this guy. You mentioned bending. When I read Meat Market, which was Bruce Feldman's book on recruiting, he followed Ed Ogeron around for a year and talked about recruiting. They talked about defensive linemen bending on the edge all the time, and that's something that he identifies. It's what he loved about Caleb Von Chason and Arden Key when those guys came aboard. And Saivion Jones didn't have quite the hype of those guys because he bloomed a little bit later. But in terms of a physical skill set, there's no reason he can't become them. And the good news is he doesn't have to become them right away. So my question to you is, I'm assuming he's going to log a lot of time on the scout team. How much improvement, how much does that bring to your game working against the starting offensive line day in and day out at practice, especially early in the week.
Yeah, it was huge. I tell people this all the time. I think my first day at spring practice, it were like 10 NFL players on that defense that I was going against. Just running with the 2s and 3s, running that scout team, and that just molds you, man. They break you in pretty fast. If you're not ready to go, those guys are going to beat you up pretty good. So just going against high-level competition, especially when you're a younger guy, it speeds your process up. It slows the speed of the game down as well. So just going against Wire every day and going against Deculus, he's got to get, veteran offensive lineman who knows how to block, and that's definitely going to help his game.